Yo, this BoneCrusher, and you're watching the Art is King podcast. Cast.
DTM. You find me anywhere on the internet under Delta Tango Mike. Follow me, check me out, Instagram, Twitter, all that stuff. Follow and check out artistking_ATL. We are everywhere on the internet. We share a lot of resources and tips for artists to get their entrepreneurial life together so they can make their art career the success that they want to have. Everybody has a different definition of success. That's okay. Whatever that definition is, our goal is to help you find ways to reach that level so that you can continue to build on your art career and be happy. All right, so we're going to talk about who we're here to see. It is an amazing space, a nice little nook. When I was telling her a second ago, I was like, hey, this is where you do your art because there's more room over here. And she said, I'm a small person. And so it's perfect. It's perfect. And for me, I need room for the belly. So when I do stuff, I need room. So we're going to introduce her in a second. The first thing I wanted you to know is that check out Artist King on YouTube. Go to the YouTube channel. Check out some of the panel discussions. Our guest today has been in a lot of them. Every time I call on her and ask her to come up, she shows up. She's full enthusiasm and energy. And so you check out some of those videos. Follow us on Instagram, but check out the website, artistking.org/events. All right? So do that, follow, check out what's happening in Atlanta, and come on out. Right now, I want you to check out some of our sponsors, give them a shout out, see them, come visit them. Sam Flax, Post Office, Cultivating Cultures. Cultivating Cultures just did the collaboration with artists and the Underground Atlanta to work on those pillars outside in the top floor of Upper Alabama Street, and I'm one of the artists who worked on that. So check us out. Check out the sponsors, and then we're going to go ahead and get started with our amazing guests. All right, DTM. So hopefully you caught all those logos there. It's a lot of our sponsors and supporters of the art community. You want to check them out. Cinamaker is a sponsor for the devices that we're using today and the software. The software is Cinamaker App, and if you want to live stream some of the stuff that you're doing, and I encourage artists to live stream all the time, all you need is an iPhone and an iPad, and I have one here to the side. You can hardly see it. And so I have the iPhones connected to the iPad, and the iPhones are used as cameras, and the iPad is used as a director's setup, so then I can see each camera and flip through. So without further ado, you're going to watch me. I'm going to click on our guest today. Hey, Havana, how you doing?
I'm great. How are you?
Tell us your name, where you're from, and what do you do?
Yes. So my name is Havana Nguyen. I live in Atlanta, Georgia. I'm actually one of the rare natives here. And
you were born here?
I am.
What? Okay, yep. Go ahead.
And by day, I work as a user experience designer. And by night, I guess some can argue it's my more exciting project. I'm the lead character artist on Kamikaze. It's a Glyph award-winning comic set in a post-apocalyptic future, and I'm the lead character artist on there. And I've also been, I've been an artist my entire life. My background has been in graphic design, and I actually went from working in software, from like sales and marketing and tech support, and actually transitioned to user experience design when I was ready to do. I wanted to do creative work in my 9 to 5 as well. But I've always been an artist
Nice.
my entire life.
I know one of the stories that you tell a lot is that when you got to first grade or kindergarten and you saw other kids drawing,
Yes.
that they drawing stick people, and you thought something was wrong with you.
So I've been drawing since I was 3 years old, and I remember, my parents were Vietnamese refugees, and so I was kind of sheltered because they were in a country that they were not familiar with, and this is their first child, and so I would just stay home, like almost just all day, and just watch Disney movies. What I would do is I would pause a Disney movie and then start drawing what I saw on the screen. And what was cool about that is it really taught me, how to draw what I see. And like Disney has always been an attractive style to me. And so when I got to kindergarten, I actually didn't know that drawing was a special skill. I thought everyone did it. And so when I went to kindergarten and I saw all these pictures of stick figures on the wall, I thought I was doing something wrong. Right. So
either that or Disney lied to you.
Yes.
Right?
So I was like, what? Am I drawing like incorrectly? And when I was in kindergarten, I actually did not speak English until I was 6 years old. And that entire time, that entire year in kindergarten was really hard just because of the language barrier and then not knowing like the cultural differences. And drawing was my way of communicating and connecting with people when I couldn't really talk to them.
And well, until you were 6, how old are your siblings? Because you got younger siblings.
Yeah, so my siblings were all like 3 years apart. So my brother is like 26, 27. My sister is 23.
So your brother is 3 years younger than you, and then your sister is 6 years younger than you. And when your sister was born, that's when you was like, all right, I guess I'll share a little bit about what's on my mind, because with the English.
Yeah.
Because you were already in school or something like that. Right?
Yeah, I don't think my brother and sister ever had a period where they didn't know English.
Oh, okay.
So I think I was the only one who had the leg.
And being the oldest, I think, is sometimes you're always like the first one to do stuff. Anyways.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's terrible.
You're the experiment.
I describe it as being the canary in the coal mine.
Yeah.
It sucks.
If your bed goes bad.
And the other thing is like I'm the canary in the coal mine, but I'm also like the third parent. I have all the responsibility and none of the authority.
Of your siblings, and they're looking at you like, what's up, huh?
Right.
Yep. Buffers every few seconds. Yeah, it's not running so right. Sorry, everybody. It's let's double check.
Technical difficulties.
Yeah, technical difficulty. That's how it works. All right, so let's talk about your shyness, because right now nobody knows about that. Like nobody. Well, maybe the people who've known you a long time. But when I met you, you are the way you are right now.
Yes.
You like talking.
Very extroverted.
Yeah.
Very loud.
And so, what do you think happened with you that made you not want to talk to people, or that, or you were just born like that?
I think I was just born like that because I don't remember. I remember like whenever my parents would have guests over, I would always hide behind my mom and like whisper to her. Like I didn't want anyone seeing me talk, which is so weird. But so I was shy basically my entire life up to high school. I was so shy and so quiet that in middle school and some of high school, some people actually thought I was mute or that I didn't know English.
Really?
Yeah.
What? So you didn't say any words?
No. I avoided it at all costs. And so in 2007, I'm not sure what exactly happened, but I just got tired of being shy. I just got tired of being so anxious around people and like just never feeling like I could speak up for myself. And so it sounds really nerdy, but I spent that entire year just learning how to get out of my shell. And it sounds a little pathetic.
Like, and what do you mean by like you learned? Like, did you start looking into? Well, 2007 they didn't have YouTube the way it is today, so it wasn't like.
So mostly it was like, okay, I know I need to. Okay, I can't even initiate conversation. Let's just start there. And so what I did was I made myself a goal. Like each day, just compliment someone, just like one compliment. And then that's it. And so each day.
Were you scared? Did you have this?
Yes,
fear
I
inside?
was like very anxious. In fact, let me tell you, like I was like 18 or 19, and I was still afraid to order food. You know, I was like really shy for some reason.
And if they got the order wrong, you just stuck with it.
Yes, I'm like, I guess I'll eat this. And then so in 2007, I just started with like, okay, just compliment one person each day, and then I ramped it up. Compliment, like say something to 3 people, and then I ramped it up. Like every time I got comfortable, I just ramped it up, and so like it went to at one stage like, okay, just pick up small talk with a barista or a cashier, because they can't go anywhere. They have to be nice.
Right. Okay,
and it's short, so I'm not pressured to have a long conversation. But the key was to learn how to improvise and like just make conversation out of nothing. So, you know, I picked the regular basic stuff like talking about the weather, talking about, you know, what's going on, like, oh, it looks really busy at the store. You know, it's like just like get myself out of my shell. And then, of course, finally just kept ramping it up until my true test was going to my first meetup. And it was some, like, just a basic social meetup. And I actually was greeting people. Like, I was trying to greet every single person, and someone thought I was the organizer.
Okay, right. You were more active than the actual organizer then.
Yeah, and like I would read like Dale Carnegie, like How to Win Friends and Influence People. I would also read like other books on how to build up your social skills, how to like build up small talk and stuff. And so it sounds really silly to break it down like that, but I needed it because I had no idea how people even started conversations.
And you had this in your mind that you wanted to be an extrovert and not an introvert anymore, or did you want to? Was there something you thought you were missing out by being not talking to people when you went out?
Yeah, it was more like that. I felt like I was missing out on a lot. Like I would let people kind of bulldoze me, like just verbally, just because I never spoke up for myself. I felt like a lot of my friendships were very passive. Like a lot of the friendships I had before this point, they were people who imposed themselves on me.
Right.
So
you were to tag along most of the time.
Yeah, and so you know, and then of course once I get to know someone, I'm more comfortable talking to them. But I realized like I don't know how to start that. I don't even know how to meet people. Oh, and I think at the time I was like in my second year of college, and I always heard about people meeting new friends and making new friends at college, and at that time I was only hanging out with people I knew in high school. And so I was just like, I don't know how to meet people on campus. Right. So I kind of took this very regimented approach to trying to get myself to be less shy. And then in the process, I think in the process I learned that I was always an extrovert. Because so extroverts draw their energy from being around people. Because even when I was shy, I was still messaging people online. I was still very active on online communities. I just didn't feel comfortable verbalizing it.
Right.
And so I think now that I am able to reach out and kind of initiate conversation, like that extrovert now has an outlet.
Got it. Okay, yeah. Cool. And so through that experience, art was always there.
Yep.
And did you see your art career flourish more after being making sure you are the kind of person that starts conversations?
Yeah, it's interesting because the transition helped me become a different type of artist.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, for example, before I was an extrovert where I was super shy and very withdrawn, I actually was drawing all the time. Because I had nothing else to do. But,
All right, that's not bad.
I would draw like all the time, and I think, honestly, if I was more extroverted, maybe I wouldn't have been so driven to practice my skill.
Mm-hmm.
So I think like everything kind of happens for a reason almost. I don't know, but like, so I would draw all the time because I wasn't hanging out with anyone. But then once I started becoming more extroverted, I also became a little more interested in the business side of it. It wasn't like a conscious thing, but because I was looking up, how to develop your social skills.
Right.
Eventually, you get into a lot of self-help stuff, and from there, eventually, you get into a lot of entrepreneurial stuff, like people talking about how they started their own business. And I was so inspired by these stories of people who grew something out of nothing. Mm-hmm. And so, graphic design, I had a love for graphic design ever since high school. And I knew how to do like design work on Photoshop and all those Adobe products. And I decided, I kind of utilized this newfound social skills, being extroverted, being unafraid to start conversation. And one day, I think one summer, I was really bored, so I just put out this ad on Craigslist, I'll do a postcard design for you for free. Mm-hmm. And I just happened to meet my very first client, and he was great. I think I lucked out with him because he was so interested in my story about how I went from being shy to being very outgoing, and he really took me under his wing as a mentor and introduced me to the Chamber of Commerce. And so from there, I just started getting more work as a designer.
Yeah, and I think that newfound skill that you had, it works well with graphic design because it's all about the message. Can the message be clear so that people understand what's going on? Yeah. That's what all graphic design is about.
Right. Mm-hmm. Exactly. It's all communication. It's visual communication.
That's right. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Nice. Yeah. So you're this kind of person now. You're out in the world. Your talent is there. Did you with art? What did you know you wanted to be an artist? Did you want to be a graphic designer? How did you even get to graphic design? Did you go to school? What happened?
Yeah, so I went to Cal High School and they had the graphic design program. Mm-hmm. So I started taking that in my junior year, and I fell in love with it immediately. Mm-hmm. So we got to learn the Adobe products, but I went above and beyond what my peers were doing. Mm-hmm. I started learning about design principles and just looking at graphic design and studying other designers. Mm-hmm. I just started liking, putting together things for fun. And, and just so you know, before this, I think I was 12 or 13 when I first built my very first website. Oh, so wow. I used to actually go on those GeoCities or Angel Fire sites.
Yes.
And I would make fan sites. So I made a lot of them, but my most popular one was a Sonic the Hedgehog fan site. And I ran it with another friend from school. And we had thousands of hits a day.
Wow.
And I was 14.
Wow.
Or 13 and 14.
So he was already in it.
So I would curate a bunch of fan fiction and fan art. And at one point we were the second most popular unofficial Sonic the Hedgehog fan site. Mm-hmm. Nice. That was really exciting. And I've also had other Disney fan sites or Sailor Moon fan sites, anime fan sites. Yeah. So I've always been interested. I don't know. I guess I've always wanted to get my work out there, even when it wasn't about business or anything. I've always been very expressive. Right. I've always been public, even when I was shy.
But that does help the business, right? But it helps the business. That wasn't the reason, right? But it actually helps. Exactly. Right, because people won't know what you do if you don't tell them or talk to them or express it in some kind of way.
Exactly.
Right. Got it. So in your career, you've made a few different moves.
Yeah.
And a lot of them, some of the stuff you go through, you write about it on your Medium blog.
Mhm.
Yes.
Yes.
I like it.
So it's funny because like last year I had a couple of pieces on Medium, which is like a writing platform. A couple of those pieces went viral. 3 of them actually. One was about what happened when I started speaking up in meetings. One was about the other 2 are strictly user experience design topics. But I was really surprised that they just took off. And I've been trying to write online content for a long time and trying to build an audience. And it's like, I feel like every time I don't mean to do it, it happens.
Right. It's natural.
Yeah.
That's good. And I think that you have to do something now because at 14 you was running the internet. So you got to do something now.
Right.
So let's talk about one of those things, your moves. I know that since I've known you.
Yeah.
In the beginning, when I first met you, maybe 2-3 years ago, it's got to be a few years.
Yeah, it was.
You were a graphic designer. You were working for somebody at some company.
So actually, I was freelancing in design, but I was actually working full time as tech support at a company. So like after I graduated in 2011, I've always worked in software, but I always worked. I've worked at a call center. I've worked in sales. I've worked in what do you call it? Tech support, client support, business analysis, but nothing ever creative until one day I liked it. I liked learning about the technical side of it. But at some point in 2016, I decided, you know what, I'm working on Kamikaze on the side, but I think I'm also ready for maybe something a little more creative in my 9 to 5 as well. And so I kind of reverse engineered it. So I looked at a job description for a UX role, and then I started looking at portfolios and resumes. I started figuring out what are the components that seem to be common on all these things. And I was like, okay, how do I get that sort of experience on my resume? How do I get these skills? So I would keep going back and reverse engineering it, like, these are the books I need to read. These are the people I need to reach out to. And so I ended up in user experience design, even though I don't have any formal schooling on it. I didn't know anybody, so I had to build a network from the ground up. I didn't have a human-computer interaction degree. So, I mean, it really was just from zero, from the bottom.
And that's what's amazing. So, so you reverse engineering, meaning you look through the profiles of people who are in this positions. You looked at their LinkedIn, I imagine.
Yep.
Went through their positions, said, well, they worked on this, they worked on that. So how could I start working on some of those things? And you looked at the books they might refer to, and so you started reading those books also, and so how do you start building your portfolio? What do you do when you don't have any of that experience, and you know you need it to have to get the job?
So there's several ways to build it. Like for me, the things I always tell aspiring UX designers is. You can always do pro bono work. You can always do your own little projects, like things you think of. But actually, one of the things that really helped me was take a nap, like any app that you use now.
Okay,
right?
I thought you said nap. I was like, how do you take a nap?
You can't take a nap. Take like any sort of app that you use on a daily basis, and there's gotta be something that you're like, this app is great, but I wish it did X. Well, instead of pining about it, like, why don't you think as a user experience designer, like, solve that problem? Right? So, one of the things I always came up with was, I love Netflix, right? But what takes up all the time? Trying to pick out something to watch.
Yeah.
And so you start browsing, and, like, there was a part of me that was just like, oh my god, it would be so nice if there was just a random button on Netflix, and it would just pull from my list, or maybe a button on Netflix that would ask me, well, what are you in the mood for? And then just pick something that it knows I would like.
And why isn't that still there though? Like, why isn't that to this day? I wish that was there.
I
That was
know,
good.
right? So
Okay,
what I did as an aspiring UX designer is I would prototype in wireframe and kind of like strategize and like, okay, how would I build that? Like let me solve my own problem. Another one was, and I wrote a Medium article on this next one. I went and did. I really liked the app's Periscope, and so it was like one of the first live streaming mobile apps out there. And so one of the things I would actually go on there and just search all around the world to like view these live streams, right? But then I kept thinking like, man, if only there was some way to filter out just like videos that pertain to art. Or just videos that pertain to dance, or I just want to see videos, whatever. I don't care where it is in the world. I just want a specific topic. Otherwise, you're having to wade through all these other videos that don't interest you. And so I actually solved it. I sketched out some ideas. I got feedback from other people. I put together some wireframes, and I actually put together a case study of how I worked through that problem. And I published it on Medium, and actually it was a really good tool for when I was interviewing for UX jobs. Like, if you want a more detailed rundown of how I think through a UX problem, you can check out this link here.
Wow. So you put yourself into the mind and works structure and process of a UXer.
Yeah.
And did it.
Right. And the other thing I would say is, like, while I'm building my portfolio, I'm also sending it out to other UX people for feedback.
Right. And that's through, like, that by joining meetups,
Yep.
you're then able to find those people.
Right. Yeah. So I was doing it through meetups. I was doing it through LinkedIn. I would, like, cold email people and just say, hey, I'm really interested in UX. Here's my portfolio. Here's some articles. I'd really love to just talk 20 minutes. 20 minutes out of your time to just ask some very specific career questions. Now, I will say, when you do that, you have to be specific. Nothing drives me more crazy than someone who, like, if someone were to email you, like, how do you draw? How do you get good at drawing?
Right.
It's such a general question that you can't really answer it, right? So I would be very specific about my my questions. Like, okay, I have these things in my portfolio. What am I missing? Right. Or if you were trying to hire me, what's missing from this?
You ask the hard questions. You need to ask like real definite hard questions so that you get real hard, sometimes ugly answers, but that's going to make it better.
Exactly. And there were some UXers who were like, this is a very amateur portfolio. I would not hire you on this. Like, okay, can you explain why? Like, what makes it amateurish? Like a UXer, you have to draw that out of people sometimes. So.
And you're that kind of person who's very interactive and likes to introduce yourself, and that's kind of it fit that kind of mentality.
Yes.
That's really cool. All right, so we're gonna have the next segment where you're gonna show us some of your artwork. You say you have some fan art or something, I don't know what. and you're gonna show us a couple of ideas of how you draw. You don't draw like stick people. No.
No stick figures here.
So we're gonna come right back, everybody, and I'm gonna look into that audio. Hopefully, I can get it fixed. But check out how we use Sketchable and the awesome app that Sketchable is on the Windows 10 Surface Pro machines. All right, so we're gonna show you that in a minute, and we'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. Now let's talk about Sketchable for a second, and I'm only going to take the time to tell you about the top 3 things that I like about Sketchable on my Surface Pro and with Windows 10. So if you have a Windows 10 machine, number 1, Sketchable is a great starting point for anybody who is starting their digital drawing career. The reason I say this is because it is very simple to use, It has a very clean interface. The tools are easy to operate, easy to get to, and easy to adjust. And I'm going to show you that right now. So let's go ahead and get Sketchable started. This is my Surface Pro. It is a 4. It is 2 years old and it's perfect for drawing. It is the quality of the surface line is really amazing. So as you can see, here I am inside Sketchable, and the first things you'll notice is all the layout of some of the colors, some of the tools, and some of the options here on the left hand side. And that's one of the top reasons on why I like Sketchable and why I tell artists to go ahead and get started drawing their digital, challenging their digital talents on the surface with Sketchable, because it's so easy, so simple to use. So the second part about Sketchable and what I like about using Sketchable on the Surface Pro is that it has the easy to access controls. I have a color picker here, and it also has other color picker options in case you're into that RGB. I like the color wheel. I like the triangle here for my opacity and tone. So you can pretty much grab any color that you want. Plus, there's also a color picker. So let's say I was drawing. There we go. Let's try my brush. Here we go. Which one? And see how easy it is to just go ahead and start grabbing a brush and adjusting it. Let's make it thicker. So then once I change colors, I'm already in a different color, and then it's like, oh wait, I wanted that color, and you don't have that color saved here on your palette. Then it's real easy to just grab the color picker, click the color that you want, and then get to drawing with it. So that's a big advantage on making sure that you have access to the colors and even saving the color for later, so I can always keep adding different colors to my color palette here. And then the last thing I want to tell you about Sketchable is that it supports multiple layers, so I can have as many layers as I want, start a sketch, and get to the point where I build on that sketch. So here's a drawing I started, and it may have involved several layers. Nope, but see, now that I have this sketch layer, I turn down the opacity, make me a new layer, grab the pen that I want, size it, change the color to what I want. Let's make it blue. See how easy that is? Just start fixing that. I turn down the opacity. There we go. Zoom in, get rid of that color layer, get rid of the whole UI, and now I am sitting here drawing. A big plus with Sketchable is that it supports palm rejection. So see, look, my hand is resting on the canvas, but it only leaves a mark when I use the actual Surface pen. And there is a setting for that, so I can go to the settings and say that I only want to paint with the stylus, or I can do the stylus and the touch, but I want just the stylus, and that enables my palm rejection. So that's a couple of things that are awesome with Sketchable. I urge you to go ahead and download the free copy of Sketchable. Just go to your Windows 10 device. If you have a drawing tablet of some kind with Windows 10, then that's super perfect. That's what you want. Go to the Windows Store on your device, look Sketchable, and it's spelled like Sketchable. Download the free version, check it out, let me know what you think. Here's another cool trick right here. Look, I could just swipe to the left and undo. Download it and start drawing with it. Draw with the free version. If you like the app, go ahead and post a picture. Leave a comment on this video with the copy of a drawing that you drawn in Sketchable, and one lucky person will get the free unlock code. They will get the unlock code for free. All right, so that way you can download the full app and start playing and have all the advantages that Sketchable allows. So go ahead. So this is a quickie on Sketchable and how it works and how it runs. I've been drawing with it for a few years now, ever since I met the team. Ryan and Miles Harris are really cool people, and they've been working really hard with Microsoft to develop this app for artists. This Sketchable app is initially built and designed to take advantage of the Surface Pro line of tablets and computers. So go ahead and check it out. Anybody who does not understand Windows or PCs, they don't understand where we are right now. This Surface Pro line is just amazing. All right, so talk to y'all later. Get back to the podcast. Check out what the artists are saying and follow the links. And like I said, leave a comment with your drawing. All right, peace out. Right now, what you can see is Havana's drafting table. Tell us about what's going on here. What do we have?
Yes. So, all right. Where to start? All right. So I already talked about kamikaze. So I just brought out some of my sketchbooks just to kind of show the audience like some of my work. I've always had a sketchbook. Like I've never without a sketchbook. And this is kind of how I like warm up with drawings, test out like different mediums and different techniques, different coloring techniques. I love sketchbooks because there's such a sandbox, it's such a playground to work in. And so a couple things here is like I've worked with the Mad Penciler a little bit. I kind of had him do like a one-on-one workshop with me, just because his work is so phenomenal. Wayman's really great, and he's the one who kind of like got me really into the blue pencil. And so this is just like a bunch of fan art, just to do some warm-ups here. This is an example of a warm-up page. Oh. So this is like some fan art from Eric Killmonger from Black Panther, and unbeknownst to me, it wound up on BuzzFeed.
Wow!
Did I tell you about that? Yeah,
Yeah,
my friend just told me, "Hey, man, did you see BuzzFeed?" And I said no. And so apparently this was featured on, I guess like a collection of Black Panther fan art that people were collecting. So that was really cool. Just some more examples. So here's an example of some of the comic stuff I do.
Yeah.
So this is what we call thumbnailing. So Alan, who is one of the creators on Kamikaze, he actually is usually the one doing the thumbnails and the roughs. One particular week, I had to actually step in and do it. And so so what thumbnails do is in the thumbnail stage, we're kind of planning out the layout of the page. And by that I mean like how are the panels going to lay out? How big are the panels going to be? What's the art that's going to be in each panel? And so it kind of helps us plan out the page before we start committing any real art to it. And so with that, we want to keep in mind like the flow of the scenes. Does it make sense? The flow of the dialogue.
It's not saying it's live.
Not loud enough.
It's not saying it's live here. It usually says it's live right here.
Oh yeah, it's working. It's fine.
Okay.
Okay. Sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah.
So then on the left hand side, you start to sketch.
Yes.
And just kind of scribble till you see something.
Yep.
And then on the right, you start cleaning it up a little bit and saying where the
exactly.
And these are off the script. Like you're looking at a script right now.
Yes. So
get that going.
One of the things that Kamikaze does a little differently is Carrie's our head writer, and she actually has the entire script for whatever volume we're working on, completed.
Already written out.
Completed, edited, everything's like finalized. And so that kind of gives us the direction of the action, the dialogue, and we just go off each script to figure out what it actually looks like.
I see.
Yes.
And so that was some. Are these pages online now? Are these finished? Is this something that we can see now?
Yeah, I think these are actually from episode 2. So volume 2 is out here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So it's a pretty interesting process. I've learned a lot about comics after starting Kamikaze.
Did you know much about comics before you started?
Not a lot. I mean, I read Scott McCloud's work, and I kind of tangentially knew, but I didn't work on it to this extent.
Mm-hmm.
And you can read something, but when your experience
When you
comes from
actually
actually
do
doing it.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
It's a difference.
So I learned a lot in that process. But yeah, so that's comic work. You saw some of my sketches, my warm-ups, my fan art. Here's an example of like some wireframes I've done.
Uh-huh. That's a website?
Yes, so this was like some chat client that I was working on.
Okay.
And then another thing I do is I also have like a series of memoir comics.
Mm-hmm.
You've read them.
Oh, those are the
before.
ones that you
Yeah.
you got on. Is it Tapastic? You put
Yes,
them on Tapastic.
Tapastic,
Yes. Uh huh. Yep.
So in addition to working on Kamikaze, I also have a series of memoir comics, basically just like autobiographical
Mhm.
works. And so I actually came up with the idea when I was just turning 30,
Mm-hmm.
and I kind of wanted to capture some of the things that have happened to me.
Yeah. Like what? What's happened to you?
Like the first one that I actually published was about me going from a shy introvert to an outgoing extrovert.
Mm-hmm.
So I documented that. I also have documented like other things like growing up Asian American,
Mhm.
and all
The
that.
language. Uh-huh.
Yeah,
Yep,
exactly.
I've seen it.
Yeah.
And so I had a question in there and I forgot it, but I'll come up with another one. And real quick. So, to you, what is it that this does for you when you draw them out and you tell the world about these parts of yourself?
Yeah, these comics were really the primary audience is future me.
Okay.
Yeah, so I've always journaled. Like I actually have journals going back to high school.
Mm-hmm.
Just me writing about my experiences and how I felt about certain things, and I just like there are some things that I've always gone back and thought about,
Mm-hmm.
from time to time, like my experiences growing up Asian American, especially to Vietnamese refugees. It's a
Mhm.
very unique experience, and I think like I don't know. I've always been very expressive, so
Mhm.
I've been publishing my work since I was 13.
Mm-hmm.
But like even on social media, I'm very candid about myself.
Mm-hmm.
And so this was a way for me to kind of tell my story, but also document it for myself as
Mhm.
well. So, when I go senile and start forgetting everything,
Right.
I can read these comics.
Did you think that these stories were extraordinary enough that they deserve the world to know them, or?
I don't know if they're extraordinary, but
Uh-huh.
that's why, I've always just focused on, okay, what would future me want to know?
Mm-hmm.
Or, what would I want to tell my friends? What do I tell my friends on a regular basis?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not really... It's kind of refreshing to work on this. Like this, we're trying to build an audience with. And
Mm-hmm.
with the memoir comics, it's more personal.
Mm-hmm.
If it gets popular, then it does, but it's not the primary focus.
Right. Well, I asked these particular questions, not that I don't think it's extraordinary. Back to session. And did it stop already? It's still recording. It's still live. Let's see. We have those. What happened?
The Facebook.
Oh, that's not. That's it. It stopped. Oh man.
I would fix that.
Yeah, it might have dropped off. Let's see, where did it drop off at? And that's when it dropped off. Yep, that's what happened. Okay, that's okay. We're still recording. This is still up, and it should. And you know what? Let's do this since we're still talking.
Yes.
Those are still recording, and that is. I know this. This is still safe. So we're gonna continue, and then I'll fix the stream.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
So the reason I ask these questions is because I talk to a lot of people.
Yeah.
Artists mainly, of course, creative people who would like to write, people who like to draw comics, and they're always asking that question like, well, how do I get started? What do I do to get into the business? What do I do to break in? And it's like, why don't you write your story?
Yes.
Why don't you tell about what it is that's going on with you?
I don't have to worry about a story structure, a conflict,
But
an
I don't think-
antagonist.
Right, but because you do this, I don't think you have to worry about never having a job.
Yeah.
Because you're always in practice, you're always doing it.
Exactly.
So whatever's going on in your life, there's going to be emails that you're getting because you're publishing constantly something.
Yeah.
There's going to be emails like, hey, can you work for us? Hey, can you do a project for us?
Exactly.
Can you...
Actually, you know what? You know what was funny?
Mhm.
One of my comics actually got me a job interview.
Okay, there you go.
So there was a story about how, in 2011, I lost a lot of weight, like, immediately.
Mhm.
And so that was the first comic I ever talked about going through an eating disorder.
Okay.
And at first, when I wrote it, it was just like, I got very nauseous publishing that.
Mhm.
Because I'm like, oh, it's so personal, like, why am I publishing this? Why am I even writing about it? But one of the things that I tell people, like, oh, how do you write a Medium article that goes viral? How do you create work that people like? And I think it's all about authenticity. And that's kind of a cliche word nowadays, but, like, for example, I swear, like, when I write a Medium article, if I have the intention for it to go viral, I'll get, like, 15 views.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
If I just write, like, you know what, this is my story, this is what happened, this is what I learned, this is why it was useful, like, people, like, the next day I'll see 20,000 views on it.
Is that organic,
Yeah.
true, for real type of communication that you're having,
Right.
as opposed to how could I use the basics of storytelling to say something?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like, so
Yeah.
here's an example. So I've written 2 articles, exact same topic, right? I've written an article before a few years ago where I talked about how, oh, here are 10 great tips for speaking your mind or having your voice heard. Nobody read it. But then I started talking about, on Medium, it's called What Happened When I Started Speaking Up in Meetings.
Mhm.
I talked about my story. I talked about how I withheld an opinion because I thought, oh, I'm the most junior person here, like no one's going to listen to me, or I'm probably wrong. A few weeks later, a new guy comes into the office. He says the exact thing I
What's
thought
that?
about,
Mhm.
and he gets praised. And he's
Uh-huh.
like, wow, you're brilliant.
Uh-huh.
And so I wrote about that experience and how it made me think, like, no, I need to speak up, even if I'm wrong. I need to speak up if something's on my mind. And that article also went, like, that was the first popular article I had on Medium. And so for this, like, I was talking about the eating disorder, and there was a part of me that was just afraid of, like, oh, what if people judge me? What if people think that I'm a sham somehow, that I lost the weight that way? And in fact, like, all these people, that's where I really got most of my followers on Tapastic, is through that comic, because so many people ended up relating.
Yeah.
Even if they didn't go through, like, the disorder part, they know what it's like to deal with, like, body image issues, things like that.
Mm-hmm. And your story sounds genuine. It's
Yeah.
not made up and...
And so that was the comic that got me a job interview.
There you go.
Because I posted on Twitter, and I guess someone in my UX circles saw it, and he DM'd me, and he said that I relate to this. Like, I'm a straight white male, and I still relate to this. And we had a conversation that opened up this door to talking about body image issues and things like that. And he told me, like, you're so genuine and you're so authentic, but I also know you're talented in the UX world. Like, you should come in and interview. I was like, what? I would have never thought that comment would win an interview. Yeah.
I think that's another part of creative, is that not only should you be able to know how to do the work, you also got to be able to talk about the work.
Yes.
And that is going to lead you further. Then if you and I use this example, if there was a room full of same artists who can draw the same and everything was the same, then those artists who can speak about their work will get further along in their career than everybody who just draws the same.
Exactly.
And has the same talent.
Yeah.
It's not just the talent, it's also the speaking up and communication.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good.
I think that helped when I was freelancing, especially starting the design business at such a young age. I think I started when I was 20. It kind of forced me into learning how to communicate, and also I had to speak professionally because I was 20. I was usually the youngest one in any business meetup, any conference, So I knew I had to build up my credibility very fast.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, people just saw me as a
Right,
kid.
as a kid, that's right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so it taught me how to kind of speak with authority and speak confidently.
Mm-hmm.
And also in the UX world, that was also a really big, in the UX world, you have to know how to articulate every single design decision. Because you're not only winning over the business group, you're also winning over the marketing group, the data group, the developers, like everyone is involved.
And the user.
And
It
the
has
user,
to
of
use
course.
the thing. Yeah. You're building this thing for the user to use it.
Exactly. And then you also have to be an advocate for the user because business goals and user goals are not always in line with each other.
Very
So I have to advocate for the user at my job every day. So it's just taught me a lot about speaking up. And I also did Toastmasters. So that's how I do the public speaking stuff.
Yeah. You got rid of the ums and ahs.
I still say that, but
that's all I remember from Toastmasters. I've been a few times, and now they do is sit there and count your ums and ahs. I'm like, dang, I need to work on mine.
Damn it! That is one thing I need to work on.
Yeah, nice. All right, very cool. So show us a couple more things in
Yes.
your books, because
So
you got several sketchbooks.
yeah, I'm trying to see.
I like this one. So this is this moleskin? It's a
I
big
think
moleskin.
it's some sort of.
Or is it Fabriano?
Yeah,
No, it's a real moleskin. Yeah, I like it. I like the smoothness of the paper.
I
wish
know,
it
I
was
loved it.
a little thicker, but that's cool. I like
And
the
a lot
size.
cheaper.
And cheaper. Oh my god.
Yeah, it's so expensive.
Yes. And taking that into account, because of the price of some of these sketchbooks, are you ever afraid of messing up a page?
Yes. I really had to get over that. Like when I first started using moleskins, I was afraid to do this. Like I don't know where my first moleskin was, but I was just so it just had to be perfect.
Yeah.
But I've learned to just accept that sketchbooks are your is your sandbox, right?
Oh, I like that guy. That's the is that the skeleton? Is that one of the characters? Because I've seen him around before.
This is a dead astronaut.
That you made up. Because there's a character out there, and I've seen some artists make this character, but I have not seen any stories. And I like that idea behind it too, and I like drawing skulls.
Yeah.
So I like drawing skulls in all kinds of
Oh,
situations.
yeah.
Anyways, Nice.
This is a Mongolian queen
Nice.
drinking out of a skull.
All right. I need a mug like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
That's perfect.
Nice.
No, at this time, my boyfriend was like really into learning about the Mongols and Genghis Khan. He was telling me about all this stuff, and I started just drawing a Mongolian queen.
It's beautiful.
But yeah, so I like my sketchbook, and sometimes I also draw people out in public.
Yeah.
Without them knowing.
All right. Nice. Do you ever finish these drawings? Are they just for you to play and have fun and enjoy your drawing moments?
So what I do is sometimes I'll take a sketch that I'll do, and I'll take a picture of it, and I start developing the idea a little bit more, and then eventually I might turn it into a painting. And so, as far as painting goes, I have a very interesting process. If you want to sit that in somewhere. Yeah. So, it took me a while to kind of get to this process, and it's a lot of steps. But,
okay, it's a lot of steps, all right.
So I actually start with newsprint, like big ass newsprint. And what I do is, I'll take a canvas size, and so here, I think I have a canvas wall. It's back there somewhere. But basically, I start with the newsprint because, I've tried to draw directly on the canvas, and I've tried to sketch with paint. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. It's just like, if you start with pencil on the canvas, I don't know how you don't make it muddy. It always turns out muddy too. So I actually like doing the newsprint, and then afterwards, I actually use contact paper So this is just carbon
nice.
paper,
Nice.
and I'll actually transfer.
Right. You'll
I'll draw
trace over
over it.
again the
Yeah.
line you want to keep.
Yeah, and
Mhm.
transfer it to the
Mhm.
canvas, and
Nice.
that way it's just a single line. It's not sketchy.
Yeah.
The graphite's not all over the
Uh-huh.
place, and it seems to work out to me.
Okay.
So
And so those and that's where some of the sketches lead into actual painting. Nice.
exactly.
Nice.
Right.
And that's good. Because you can always scan that picture of you in the drawing,
Yeah,
and then blow it up,
that's true.
and
Yep.
then do that too.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's different ways.
Yeah.
I have a projector, so I use that to project onto
For
the
murals
wall
and
in the
stuff?
murals. Yeah.
Yeah. That's really cool.
So show us, what do you do on your surface if you draw on there, and what's your favorite
Yeah.
application for drawing?
So right now I've used Manga Studio in the past, thanks to Artist King, and I've also most of the time I use Photoshop just
Uh-huh.
because currently when I work on comic pages.
What is this? Do you attach something there?
Oh yeah, so I got this
Oh,
from the
that's cool.
Container Store. It's
Nice.
like $3.
What?
And
You
because
need
like
that.
with the magnet,
It's cool, but
sometimes
it'll pull off.
yeah. So
I've lost pens like that already.
Yeah, I wasn't
Mhm.
gonna play with that,
Mhm.
so I have this little attachment.
I like that. Okay.
It's not too intrusive. So let's see. So here's
So
an
right now you're in
example.
Photoshop.
Yes, I'll show you an example of some art. This
Ooh.
was a commission I did
Wow.
for Talin.
Yes.
So she's a really big cosplayer, writer.
Mhm.
She's brilliant.
Mhm.
You'll probably see her at conventions.
I've seen her lots of
Yeah,
times. Yes.
exactly.
Uh-huh.
And so she actually commissioned some fan art of her
Mm.
Storm cosplay. It's like one of her most popular
Mm-hmm.
cosplays. And I did this all in Photoshop. And so
Nice.
let's
You got the
see.
layers there. Wow.
Let's see if I. So
Did you go to art school?
I did not. I
Because you're
didn't.
good.
Well, thanks.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so I've been drawing since I was 3, and I've always been motivated to kind of learn more about, honing that skill and all of that. But I've never been. Oh, I did take a couple art classes in college.
Mm-hmm.
So I changed my major 4 times.
Okay.
If you can
Sure.
believe that.
You
So
have it
like
right.
I started in psychology,
Mm-hmm.
and then I wound up in art, and then I wound up in marketing, and then finally I ended up at international affairs.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I graduated.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yes.
So you got your passport ready to go when the time comes for diplomatic
Yes.
stuff. Okay.
No, I'm going to Russia next month.
Oh wow. Yes.
Yes.
You do travel a lot. That's good.
Maybe colluding.
Uh-oh. No. So that's good. So all in there, somewhere along those 4 different things, art is in there. So you
Yes.
did pick up a few things. But like right now, we're looking at this piece.
Mhm.
And what do you say you learned to use Photoshop like this, to do the layers like this, to get the color palette right? Where did you learn all these things?
There's so many tutorials online.
Mm-hmm.
And for a long time, I would beat myself up for like, oh, my work doesn't exactly look like this artist or that artist. And it took me a while to kind of realize that all digital artists have their own flow,
Mm-hmm.
just like analog artists, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so it was just like, instead of beating myself up for, my art not looking like Loish's or, other digital artists that I was following, I was like, everyone has their own flow.
Mm-hmm.
And so what I do is a mixture of following tutorials I find online, experimenting, but also like I've started also just teaming up with other artists in the area and having one-on-ones. Yeah, so I, like, for
That's
example,
good.
I did a one-on-one with Wayman. I actually got the idea from Ginger.
Okay.
You know what she does?
What you do?
She, like, when she needs to learn a program, she just pays someone to teach her.
Nice.
She just pays by the hour. And,
Yeah.
oh, I could probably do that with art. And so I have, like, a short list of people that I want to hit up.
Nice.
I don't know. I love learning with someone.
Mhm.
I've done it with you,
Right.
you know,
No, no.
and like there's still some things that you told me that I still keep in mind.
Mhm.
And it's just like if I can cherry pick like little
Mhm.
lessons from everyone,
Mhm.
then I'll
Yeah.
be the best.
Yay! And no our school student loans.
Oh yeah,
We still have.
that's nice.
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
I that's my process. You know, of being around talented people and just
Yeah.
soaking up some of their knowledge.
Right, right. And like one of the things people always ask me, oh, why do you pursue an international affairs major or degree? And I had no interest or no plan to work in politics or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
And so people would always ask, well, why did you do that then?
Mm-hmm.
It's like international affairs was an area that I didn't know anything about, and
Mhm.
I'm motivated when I learn things every day. So in classes, because I didn't really know that much about, you know, foreign policy, international affairs, like I loved this feeling of like learning new things every day and connecting new things. At the same time, I realized that I'm already freelancing, so I'm already getting business experience and learning how to talk professionally, learning how to write emails and
Mhm.
solicit business and sell. Like I was already accumulating this experience. So why am I also going to pour my time into a degree
Mhm.
to teach me the same thing?
Mm.
Another thing was I was also motivated to learn art by myself.
Mhm.
So I'm like, why do I want to pour all my time into that? Now there is an argument for, you know, if you do pursue art school, you have the advantage of like that's your life. That's all your time goes to that. You don't have to like allocate time to this or this or this. Which sometimes, I mean, there's pros and cons
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
No art school loans.
That's good. Yeah. Right. Yeah. And you draw very well.
Thank
Your
you.
your drawings are really cool. I like that. I like that.
Yeah.
This is a great example of it right here.
Right. Let's see. What else do I got here?
There's also something to be said for those of us who never stop drawing.
Yeah, and I try really hard to not stop that. Let's see. What else do I want to show? Oh, here's another commission I did of a friend.
All right.
He won his so he's Ugandan,
Okay.
and this is Abe, and he's been a lifelong fan of Black Panther, so I drew him in the suit, of course.
That's nice.
And then I'll show you what one of the kamikaze pages look like.
Because you do different things on the when you're working on those on kamikaze, you would either clean up,
Yep.
and color.
Yep. Well, I don't color actually. Carrie colors.
Carry colors.
Yeah. Carrie is our colorist.
Inking.
She's the ink
Okay.
person, and then she's also the head writer.
She's hardcore.
Oh yeah, she plays all kinds. Where is it? Oh, I'm in the wrong folder. But yeah, I really like working on the surface. I kind of struggle a little bit with digital art because like it's so different when you're working on a Wacom and having to coordinate your hand to the
Right.
screen. So I like having to being able to draw directly
Right on the screen. Because you did have your Wacom out. The Intuits, is that, which one is that? That's the
Yeah.
and
Oh, you know what? I can't show that page. There's a spoiler.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
It hasn't come out yet. That page hasn't come out.
I'm trying to find one that's like not so bad to
Okay.
show. I'll find
It's
it.
all right. It's only reserved to those who watch this live stream.
That's true. Well, here's an example.
All right,
This
there you go.
page has come out. So here, let's see. So what we're looking at here is,
That's the pencils right there.
hang on. So this is some of the work that I received from Alan.
Mhm.
So he does like,
You can see it. Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Yeah, it's fine. You can see
he
it.
has the rough sketches
Mm-hmm.
of the comic pages.
Mm-hmm.
And so then I kind of go in and I fill in with the first we call it the first round of cleanup art.
Mm-hmm.
So I take those rough drawings and I kind of start cleaning up like the features, the anatomy, the actual expressions. And so this is what that looks like.
Mm-hmm.
And then I pass it over through Dropbox. And then Alan and Gary start putting in their notes.
Some red lines.
Yep. So these are some of the notes that they'll pass in. And then finally, I take those notes and I do a final pass at the clean. And so this is what Carrie ends up kind of like working with. With the colors and like the ink work and stuff like that.
Wow.
So we used to do all of those 3 steps on paper. And because of the Surface, we all have the tablets now. We can actually just do it digitally, which is really flexible. It helps us. You know, I can do them at home if I'm feeling sick or if I just don't have time to go over there. I can just work on it at my place.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yes.
That's awesome. All right, so we're gonna end this with a couple of questions. You can sit a little bit this way so we can see your face. 2 questions. 1, where do we find you online?
Yes, so I have a website, HavanaNguyen.com. That's Nguyen. And that's where you can find my UX work. Actually, on the home page, I've centralized all the links to all my work online. So I have a YouTube channel. I have the Tapastics account with my memoir comics. I have a link to my Medium account with all my writing. But also on my website, you'll see about me, my digital art portfolio, my traditional art, and my UX work.
Okay.
And then on Twitter, you can find me at Havana Tweets. And on Instagram, you can find me at Havana_N. N as in November.
All right. Like it. I was gonna say before we go to the last question, you were doing a lot of YouTube videos.
Yes.
Are you still?
I haven't as much, just because like with the new job, I got a new UX job a couple of months ago. And I'm still trying to figure out what I want to do with the YouTube channel. I'm starting to wonder if it makes more sense to make it like my own little travel thing. Because, you know, my initial, so I have a couple of travel videos on YouTube where I vlogged my trip to India. I vlogged about my trip to Italy. I have one coming up on Greece. And so my initial intention was to have like a little video about my trip for Feature Me to reference back. And like a lot of people like that. And so I started experimenting with YouTube videos just because it's just another way of expressing and sharing ideas.
I got you. All right. Yeah, because I kept watching you get out there. I was like, that's good.
Yeah.
Get to
And
hear
it's like, oh my god,
the
it's
energy.
so much work.
Yes, it is.
Crap.
Yes. Yes.
Like just coming up with the content and then editing and then like
publishing, all that stuff. All right. The last question is, if you could talk to 10 years ago you.
Yeah.
So.
10 years ago.
And 10 years ago you.
I was 21.
Still young right now. What kind of creative career advice would you give yourself?
I think I probably would have told myself to check out user experience design earlier. But at the same time, I feel like being in tech support and in sales kind of helped me see the business side and the technical side. So, you know, like I can, it's easy for me to work with developers, for example. I don't know. Like, things have kind of fallen in place for me. I think for me, maybe like not being so hard on myself as a creative. Like, I was really, like, it took me a long time to kind of accept and like kind of embrace my art style. Also finish more sketches.
All right, that's good.
I don't know. It's like I feel like I was focused on the right things. What happened there? Whoops. Yeah.
All right.
Oh, you know what?
What?
I would be better about centralizing my online presence.
Okay.
So I did build websites when I was a teenager, but I didn't really keep like a good website with all my work centralized in one place for a while. So like I had a DeviantArt and I had a Flickr account and I had like all these separate things, but it was never centralized. So.
All right. Awesome. All right. Well, this is DTM. Thanking you for being here today and checking out our interview with Havana Nguyen. And please check out artistking.org for more updates on workshops, classes, and demos around town. And don't forget that we have one more Artist King podcast coming up, and that will be with Keith Cross, coming out real soon. So stay tuned. Follow on all social medias, Delta Tango Mike, Artist King _ATL. Talk to you soon. Peace out.